Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, I'm Audley Stevenson, and thank you for tuning in to the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. This is the Audacious Living Podcast, and I appreciate you for taking a moment out of your day and joining us here as we continue our ongoing goal of helping you live your best audacious life ever. As always, I encourage you to connect with us through our social media channels. If you head over to Twitter and Instagram and look for the handle, The Audacious Pod, you'll find us there. Or you can check us out on Facebook by typing in the Audacious Living Podcast in the search engine, and you can join that community. If you happen to be watching the podcast on YouTube, then you also know that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking that notification bell down below. Ding-a-ling-ling. So I'd encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, share, tell a friend, and let's do our part to keep this audacious conversation going. Now, the topic of conversation on this edition of the podcast will be focused and centered around the power of gratitude. And we're specifically going to discuss the importance of making gratitude a daily habit. And really, it's so important that we do because it can improve our overall health, our well-being, our outlook on life. So when we exercise gratitude on a regular basis, that's a natural way of inviting more positivity in our lives. So the more we practice, then the more we invite it on a daily basis, and it just makes a ton of sense. Now, to help further this conversation, I've got Marc Reklau joining me on this edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. He's a speaker and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller self-help book, 30 Days, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. Now, Marc joins me all the way from Malta, and we had a wonderful dialogue about his own personal journey, which saw him go from being unemployed, doing a little analysis on his own life, and then on the path which of course then led him on the path that he's on now. Marc credits much of his success to having a gratuitous spirit and practicing that in his life on a daily basis. There's lots of good stuff that came out of this conversation with Marc. So without any further ado, here's my chat with Marc Reklau. Enjoy. So first off, Marc, thank you for being here. I've been looking forward to this chat for a little while now, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward too.
Wonderful, wonderful. Like we said earlier, before I press record, there's a whole bunch of things that we wanted to talk about. Certainly gratitude, but I want to go back because I think what's important for people to understand is sort of your personal story. I think that's a nice place to sort of understand, where all this starts. Because I think I'm big into origin stories, right? And so and sort of where it begins, then everything else sort of falls in line. So I wonder if you could sort of talk about your personal journey as a starting point.
I will tell you because I'm reflecting a lot about it because it has been also a very nice way and path for me and journey in the last 8 years. But of course, the journey starts a lot before. It starts when I was 16 years old. I had a troubled adolescency. And then the question, is this all? Or what am I here for? What am I doing here? This can't be it. This started like this, the kind of search, right? And then I came into the personal development as a reader. Of personal development, trying to find sense in my life and find purpose. this was when I was 16. And so the rest of the life was normal. Yeah, I did my high school, and then I worked at Disney for a year, which was awesome. And then I had to study. I didn't know what to study, so I just studied anything, so I studied a career I didn't like to later work at a job I hated for 11 years. Right. So that was, and I just kind of also lost my way because when you're 18, 20, you think the world is yours. And then the courage and this feeling of being unbeatable gets lost on the way for some people. For me, it was like this. And then I had to find it again. And what then I analyzed was also, so I was a big reader of self-help.
Right.
I knew all the theory.
Yep.
I knew it all. I marked everything in the books, and still my life was not what I wanted it to be. And I was in bad relationships, didn't like my work. And so then with time I found out, of course, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the exercises. I'm just reading the books. Yes. Because whenever I did the exercises, something happens, but then I got self-complacent and stopped again. Yes. And then, so I worked in my job in Barcelona, Spain for 11 years. And then I got fired.
Wow. And
I also started a life coach training. And that was the first time when I could connect again with this Marc, who was 20, 21, 22, who thought the world is his. And then I made the connection, because then I found out, of course, nothing didn't work so well because you didn't do the exercises.
Right.
And then of course, when I was jobless, the best excuse was missing. I don't have time. Right. Because suddenly I had all the time of the world. So I really started. Of all the self-help books, I saw that there are some habits that successful people have in common.
Yes.
So that these exercises work if you do them. And I started doing them. And then the idea of my first book came, 30 Days, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. So I was an experiment. Yes. I was experimenting it.
Right.
I was writing. And I have to tell you, it's kind of amazing, because of course I was doing the exercises. I saw little improvement. I wrote the book. And I also, of course, in the book, I write some phrase like, once you are on purpose, everything falls into your place.
Yes, yes.
And nothing attracts good people into your life than a person who is on purpose, than a person who is following their bliss.
Yes.
And then I read it, and this was in mid-March of 2015.
Okay.
I was still poor, jobless. And I was invited to one of the biggest radio shows in Catalonia in Spain about personal development.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, so now I'm going there, but I write about these success habits, but I still haven't
done them.
This awesome success. I was doing them, but the success. And then just 2 weeks later, I was in a promotion on Amazon, and I had 40,000 downloads of my book. Wow. And that was just like 3 weeks before going to the radio. So when I invited to the radio, I wasn't. But then when I went to the radio, I came really as the new guy on the block, unknown guy who had 40,000 downloads on Amazon. Those were free downloads. Yeah. But when it went to paid, suddenly I was selling 100, 150 books a day.
Wow.
And then from then on, I still had to struggle a lot, because then now in retrospective, everything is so easy. Now I understand everything.
Of course.
In the moment, I didn't understand it. Huh?
Because
then I thought, okay, now that's great and everything. But then times got hard again. And I did all the mistakes that an entrepreneur makes, when you're a solopreneur and whatever. Sure. But time and time again, challenges came, and I overcame the challenges. And that was also a help for me, because I said, Marc, you have the blueprint. You have the manual. You wrote it.
Yes, that's
so
right.
Actually, I just had to follow my own book.
That's right. That's right.
And then, really, I think persistence was the most important thing. And then so there was a big low again. So first in 2015, I was living off my books, which was awesome, which was my dream.
Sure.
And then I got self-complacent, and also Amazon changed things. And suddenly the sales were getting everything less, but I was spending more because I was getting used to the good life.
Of course.
Yeah, and then suddenly I noticed in 2017, around 2017, 2018, when I thought I was living from the books and I was so successful and such a great, when I looked at my numbers, I noticed, no, I mean, my business was losing $1,000 a month.
Wow.
And then I had to cut it all again and stop and say, okay, analyze.
Yes.
And then I did the 80-20. Yeah. I did the 80-20, the Pareto principle. So I said, okay, 80% of my sales comes from 20% of my product.
Yes.
What is it? What is the 20%? And that was still books, because I was trying coaching and conferences, speaking and training.
Yep.
And then I took the decision, a risky decision at the time. I said, okay, if 80% of my income comes from books, I will also put 80% of my time in books.
Yeah.
What means? Write more books, learn to advertise my books, promote my books, make more products. And that was 2018. And that's when it started to go. When you see my sales numbers, it goes like this, and then it takes off. It goes like really exponential. And that started after the 5th year. Now I'm in the 7th year. So I have been fired 8 years ago. I published my first book 7 years ago. Now I have 30 something books. Amazing. And it's just this natural way, you know. So it's very underestimated persistence.
Yeah.
Not giving up. Yeah. And doing small things every day. And so for me, it was not 8 years ago. I didn't say, I want to sell 100,000 books a year.
No.
I was writing 1,000 words a day. And writing 1,000 words a day got me to my first book. Okay. And then I learned marketing. And then I started writing 1,000 words a day. So I get to my second book. And like this. And then after 8 years, you look back and you say, oh, wow, now I have 30 books. Because I have a lot of translations and everything. And really this persistence. And the doing. So what is so important is doing
the action. The action. It's so funny. As I'm listening to you, Marc, and you're sort of you're first off, so many great themes and so many great lessons in just a few minutes that you spoke talking about. I mean, the journey that you had from the starting point. A lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people are looking for that purpose to understand what am I supposed to be doing. A lot of people are trying to figure it out. A lot of people have been have been fired and have been failed and experienced disappointment. What do you do after the disappointment? That's important. The persistence. I mean, what do you do to keep it going? The small steps that you've made, the self-analyzation when you realize that sales are going down. Like all of these things are, like I said, all of these things that you've touched on, they're all so key in who we are. And I'm so glad you gave that illustration because they are important.
Yeah. And I have to really say, because sometimes now I look back and say, what kept me going? Exactly that. Yes. And then purpose comes in again. Something has driven me, because I was this close to giving up many times, because we have to accept it. It comes because it's not a walk in the park. And I said, and what kept me going when I was close? And it was this purpose, this dream, which was far away, and also the belief in myself, and also one fantastic quote that I will share with you.
Yes.
Thomas Alva Edison was very important for me with his great quotes, like I didn't fail 20 times. I just tried. I've just found 20,000 opportunities how it doesn't work. And the one thing he said was, the easiest way to succeed is just always try it one more time. And this kept me also going. I was always like, one more time. Come on, one more time. And I'm happy to share it. Even now when you told me, I was getting aware. Yeah, it's right. It's true. I wasn't even thinking about it. It is now a time where many people get fired. So I really I'm happy. And this also took me a while, but now because I can live it, I'm happy to tell people, look, there's a guy in Malta, a German guy. English is my second language. Spanish is my third language. I had nothing 8 years ago, just a jobless support and a bad marriage.
Yeah.
And now I'm living my dream life.
Amazing.
I'm in a very happy relationship.
Wonderful.
And it's possible. Because if a German can do it and can bring his books out in English or Spanish. You can do anything you want, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The other part I love about, and I'm loving this story, Marc, and I love the sharing. And so I thank you for that. The other part about this that's so important is taking action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really easy to take the books off of the shelf and read them, or plug into the podcast and hear them, or do all these things. But if you're not actually putting anything in practice, you're not taking any work, you're not doing anything of that, then you just wasted your time, because it's not benefiting in any way.
Nothing will happen.
And
Nothing will happen.
And the piece, and in fact, I remember, I believe it was in 30 Day, we'll talk about in a moment. I think very early in the first chapter, you talk about creating your life, right? Mm-hmm. You have to create your life, but you can't create that life that you want unless you take action.
Action and responsibility. So don't expect anything from anybody else. So when I was jobless, I was happy to get my jobless money from the government, but I didn't expect from the government to fix my situation. I didn't expect it from my ex-wife, from my mother, I expected it only from me. This was also one of the most important things to become aware of, a part of the action thing, to say, okay, I'm responsible. Yeah. I want a better life. I have to work for it. If I complain, if I whine, I won't get, I won't progress. Yes. Every now and then I whine and I complain.
Well, yeah, sure. But it's a human condition. We're human, right?
It's what we say so nicely. It's the doses that makes the poison, and we are all human. So if every now and then, I have maybe one day in a week, I call my girlfriend, or when she's here, and then we just let it all out, and then we go back to work.
Right.
Because it's just, and like this, so the doses makes it, and the taking action, it was great that you said it, because Marc, as we said, so Marc from 16 to 40, no action, all the theory, not a lot of progress.
Yes.
Not a great life.
Right.
2013 to 2021, action.
Yeah. Yep.
Deal with setbacks, deal with rejection, deal with failure, act in spite of fear, because the fear will never go away.
Yes.
And the doubt. At least in my case, it's like this.
Yeah.
That I accept them.
You're not alone. You're not alone. Fear and doubt doesn't go away for anyone. The question is, what do you do with it when it comes?
Exactly. I accept them, fear and doubt. I let them consult me, but don't let them paralyze me. And now, of course, the great thing is, the more you practice, the more experience you get, the more you can see it and see how fear wants to trick you. And then you can even turn it around and can set the triggers that when fear comes, you can reframe it and say, ooh, I must be onto something.
Yeah.
Because fear only comes.
I say that all the time.
Yeah. Fear only comes when you are in front of doing something great. Because when I'm lying on my sofa watching true crime, what I also do, there's no fear. Huh?
That's
no
right.
fear.
That's easy. Yeah.
Fear comes when somebody writes to me and says, can you do a speaking gig in front of 500 people in a Fortune 500 company?
Yes.
Well, no, maybe I stay on my sofa. No, and that's it. That is the fear that paralyzes you.
It does. Just recently, someone asked me to write a proposal for a project, and I said yes, but I could feel the butterflies and the angst. I'm going, I don't know, and maybe I'll just kind of leave it and not do it. But is a reason why I'm feeling the fear.
That's another great thing I read from Dr. Richard Branson. No, he's not a doctor. Sir Richard Branson. Sir Richard. He said, if somebody makes you a great offer, say yes, and afterwards you figure out how you're going to do it. And this was also one of these important phrases for me, because I'm doing it like that too. I say yes, then fear comes, and I'm, it's like, oh, and then you just figure it out how you're going to do it, because you always have time. And I have also come to, let's say, to the agreement with myself that in 4 weeks I can prepare for anything. If they want a speech, because we have a theoretic basis of all the books we read or something. Yes. So for example, and that's also another different, because before the shy Marc, somebody would say, can you do a sales training? And I said, no, I did never do a sales training before. And then when it came, I said, well, I didn't ever do it before, but of course I can do a sales training. I am selling. I'm a salesman. I'm selling books. I know the habits. I know the habits of successful salespeople. And I worked at Disney. I was trained by Disney in the 90s, the best company in sales in the world.
Absolutely.
So of course I can do it, but I need 4 to 6 weeks. And I said, yeah, it's in 2 months. And I said, okay, let's do this. And then I hone in, I focus.
Yeah.
And then you start. I mean, at the end, it's a 1 or 3 hour training, and that's it. You know?
Well, Marc, you know, oftentimes we have the answers already, or we know where to get them, right? Exactly. But that fear thing, like you said, is sort of it kind of catches off guard and paralyzes for a moment, and we say, "Oh, I don't know," and that self-doubt, and you sort of question. But if you stop for a moment, right, and really think it through, we have the answer.
Absolutely.
It was always there. So I'm glad that you brought up that point. Another point that you brought up, I'm so glad that you did, was a whole idea of how life, while we're going through in the moment, doesn't always make sense in that moment, right? Like you go through things. So the first 40 years you're going, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it anyways. And you get to that point, and it's almost that point of realization where you say, wait a second, and you can look back and almost kind of connect the dots and understand, I did this because I had to do this, because I had to learn that, because I had to get that got me here. And it's that reflective piece. When we take that time to reflect, it's so important.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. Everything makes sense, you know, even the bad things. And I wrote now another book, and it will be on purpose, because I also had this feeling that many people are like me 20 years ago, lost. I said, so, okay, there are many books written about purpose, but if you need one more, I don't know if you need one more, but if there has to be one more, let a guy that was lost for 40 years write it, you know? And so a lot of reflection came also with this. And then I really, even in a chapter, the first time ever, I wrote about everything that happened in my life, because my life was not a walk in the park. So I really said, okay, and exactly it was about that. It makes sense at the end. So when I said, okay, I was bullied by my father until 16 in my teenage years. Today you would say psychological abuse.
Right.
30 years ago, fathers were just like that, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, he did the best he can, you know, and so what did that make for me? Well, it put me into self-help. Then 1 year later, I had to pick up my father out of a mental institution in Paris. Imagine, I was 17 years old. I went to Paris with my mother and my neighbors. I was the only one to speak French, and we got him out of a mental institution. It was horrible. Now, best experience ever. How tough it was in the moment. What did I learn there? I work very well under pressure. 2 days after coming back, I played soccer. 2 days after coming back, I played the best soccer match in my life. And then you can draw from this, because then I said, wow, it seems I work very well under pressure. So this was for me, in any situation, was it exams, work stress, now being jobless, it was always, I said, no, Marc, keep cool. You work well under pressure. My father died. Horrible. What did I get out of it? Value my life.
Right.
I am the owner of my life. I do with my life what I want.
Yes.
I create my life.
Yes.
And if I don't like the story, I change. I rewrite the story and things like that. So it's really nice when you look back. I would really, everybody who has time to do it, it is amazing, because suddenly everything makes sense.
Yes.
And then you know that even that things that you don't understand now, in 5 years will make sense. And it's a huge force to draw from.
Yes.
And it gives comfort.
Yes.
Because you can say, look, all these years, everything turned out all right.
Yes.
Why shouldn't it this time?
Right.
Of course it will too. So,
yes.
And it's comfort, and it's many things are also about comfort, about hope.
Yes.
Who are we without hope? You know.
Yes. Important one.
Yeah.
So Marc, how do we? And again, it's easy to look back after the fact and go, okay. But in that moment, it's hard. And to be able to say to someone that's going through a tough time now, don't worry, 3 years from now, you'll be okay. That's a hard thing to.
It is, yeah, I wouldn't dare it.
Right.
I mean, I'm saying it to you, I wouldn't dare to say to a person, but to give a general advice, I can tell you what helped me.
Okay.
And as I said, I had incredible experiences, sad experiences. And I always thought, and what got me through I thought, okay, then we were 6 billion. Now we are 8 billion or something. Okay, we are 6 billion. I'm sure today, as I'm going through this experience, there are 200,000 other people on this planet going through this experience, and they are dealing with it. So I can too.
Right.
And that was in a time when there was no internet and nothing. So nowadays, and there was not so many, there was not so much information available, because now later on you see that Michael Jordan had also a tough time as a teenager, that opera was abused, and you can see them now, what they made of their life.
Right.
So you can do that too.
Right.
And that would be my thing to say, okay, really look for those examples. Look for somebody who has gone through the same and has risen out of it like a phoenix. And then if this person can do it, and there are many, you can do it too, and that would be the advice I give. And the other advice, because it's funny, I love our conversation, because we wanted to talk about gratitude, and we are talking since half an hour and not talking about gratitude.
We haven't touched gratitude yet.
But now it comes. I'm telling people that are in a very bad space and ask me for advice. And I always tell them, look, I can't give you advice,
right?
Because I don't even know how I would react in your situation. So it's impossible for me, because I don't want to be pretentious and tell you what to do if I don't even know what I would do.
Yes.
But what I know from experience, from people that were in similar situations, told them, go to gratitude. Start a practice of gratitude. Write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. It can be small things. I'm super grateful that I'm talking to you right now. So that goes on my list. I'm grateful that I have a computer here that connects me with you. I'm grateful for Zoom that connects us. So it's already 3 things, and I haven't even started it, because I have my mother, my girlfriend, my house, air conditioned, because it's 100 degrees here. So, all this. So if you do this for 30 days, things will change. And not because I say it, it's because it's scientifically proven that you rewire your brain, you will become more optimistic, you will see more opportunities.
Yes.
You will be less prone to this depression. You will have less headaches. You will sleep better. So a magic pill.
Yes.
And that's what I tell people. Do this. And then, because many times people I said to that went into gratitude, 6 weeks later, they wrote me an email or they called me and said, Marc, I don't know what's happening. Maybe I'm going crazy. My situation has not improved a lot, but I'm a lot more positive. I'm a lot happier. And then another 6 weeks go by, and they have made another great step out of this hole where they were in. So this is for me, and that's why when you contacted me and said gratitude, I said, you had me at hello, actually, because because I love talking about the subject, because there are so many important habits, and only gratitude also won't do it. But gratitude is like a multiplier of everything. So as I said, only gratitude wouldn't have brought me from jobless to making now a great life with my books. But because I needed the persistence, I needed the belief, but gratitude was multiplying it all, was acting like a multiplier. So gratitude is super important, and it's the easiest habit of all of them. And it's really the most powerful also. So I would do that, I just suggest it to everybody. And it only doesn't work. So I had only one person until now in 8 years. And I was talking to her like to you on Zoom, and we got on the call. And I saw her face, and I said, "When did you stop the gratitude?"
You could see.
And she was like,
like,
oh God, I got her with the hand in the cookie jar,
Yeah.
And then she was like, "How did you see it?" I said, "No, I could see it." So when did you stop? And she said, "Yeah, well, 2 weeks ago, this after our last call." And I said, "Why? What happened?" Because I have to be like not blaming, but like a detective. What happened? Let me know. And then she told me, yes, because I was doing it, and it was not, everything was getting worse. I said, yeah, but how were you doing it? And she said, well, I said, at least I have a house. At least my kids love me. I said, that's not gratitude.
Yeah.
That's scarcity. And unfortunately, this works the same. So if I focus
Marc,
on
I'm
gratitude,
so glad that you made the distinction, because it's important that people understand the difference between scarcity and gratitude.
yes.
So keep going, please. I just wanted to.
Yes. So when you focus on gratitude, you will see more of it, more things you can be grateful for.
Yes.
But when you focus on scarcity or on sadness, you will see more things that make you sad or scarcity. So it's important to say, I am grateful for.
Yes.
And what is also important is put this feeling, put the emotion in there. So I write my list and I get goosebumps. Right? Even if I write every second day, I'm grateful for my mother. It's like I feel the gratitude, and you have to feel the gratitude. And that's just that simple.
Yes.
And I hope of the people that are listening to us and they are not doing it, I hope they start doing it, because it is amazing. For me, it changed everything, because that was also now I'm coming back. I'm seeing myself on that walk when I got the invitation for the radio program I talked to you in the beginning.
Yep.
That was when I started also these walks where I was just walking hard, and now I'm just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I open my hands, like people will think I'm crazy, but it doesn't matter. And then to myself, I say, thank you, thank you, thank you, so that I don't get too crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
And I did that every day. And then the 40,000 downloads came and everything. So
Yeah. I think, I mean, so gratitude is a wonderful, wonderful topic, and it's something I find great appreciation in. I think for me, when I look at gratitude, one of the things that it makes you do, it makes you slow down almost to a stop and pay more attention to what you have around
mindfulness.
you.
It's even
mindful, absolutely, because it's very easy for the things that you have to just take it for granted. Assume that you're supposed to get them, that you have the right to get them, as opposed to being that gratuitous nature, right? So
it changed everything for me. You know, I never understood when I was a kid and I prayed to God. I always was asking for things, give me this, give me that. And I never could wrap my mind around, why should I be grateful to you? Why should I be grateful to things that I don't have? And many years later, 30 years later, when I got it, I said, yes, I will be grateful for the things I don't even have yet. Then I understood gratitude. And it's not only that, it's an antidote against all the painful emotions. You cannot be nervous and grateful at the same time. You cannot be angry and grateful at the same time. You cannot be jealous and grateful at the same time. It's fantastic, and even so it is curing you. It's healing you.
Yes.
And I tell you another secret of mine. Before, so maybe it happens also to many of us. So, we think, okay, when we have a good streak, we think, okay, now sooner or later it will end because it can't be so good all the time, right?
Right.
And I had that too. But since 8 years, I don't have it anymore. But I never, so subconsciously, I accepted it and I wasn't aware of it. And then I saw this talk of Brené Brown and Netflix.
Yep.
And she was talking about it, exactly about this. Like she said, do you have this feeling? Yeah, everybody has this feeling. And then she said, and they did some experiment and there was a group that didn't have this feeling. They were like, no, why? When it's good, why does it have to get bad? And she said, and do you know what they all had in common? They all practiced gratitude. And then I said, now I know why I don't have this anymore, because I'm practicing gratitude, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it heals everything. It heals a lot. I don't know if it heals everything, because your auto forgiveness is big. So it's the second big one.
Yeah.
But gratitude does a lot, because it's just, you cannot have any ill feelings when you're grateful. When you're grateful for your life.
That's right.
For everything you have.
And I like the fact that you said it's the easiest thing that we can do, right? It's just showing gratitude towards what we have in front of us.
It's so easy. That's another problem, that people think, no, it can't be that easy, but it is so. It's that easy. Try it, really. I think I wrote it in the book. I said, don't let the simplicity of this exercise fool you.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's that easy.
Yeah. A big part of gratitude is the ability to focus, right? Because if you're able to focus, and we all know, right? The things that you focus on, you'll multiply them. You focus on the bad stuff, they'll get bigger. Focus on the good things, they'll expand, right? So the whole idea of focusing and paying attention to things I talked about earlier, right? Paying attention, but then there's still a bit of a difference between paying attention and truly focusing, right? And I think the ability to focus and to maintain that focus is key for people.
And then it's that exactly. And then when you focus on it with gratitude,
then
it multiplies.
Yeah. Simple math.
Yeah.
Very simple math.
It's awesome, really.
You also talk about self-discipline. When we talk, when I think in 30 days, that I think that's one of the chapters in the book is all on self-discipline and why that's important. Can you explain that a bit, Marc, so people understand?
I have to say, with self-discipline, when I wrote 30 days, I was totally convinced that you need self-discipline, but I wrote 30 days 7 years ago. So on the way, from other influences, for example, Tal Ben-Shahar, which is he taught at Harvard. He taught happiness at Harvard.
Yep.
And he says discipline is one thing and habits are another thing. So he said he didn't have discipline, but he had habits. And sometimes good habits look from the outside like discipline.
Yes.
So you say, oh wow, this athlete is very disciplined. He must have a lot of self-discipline. And that's how he explains it, how Tal Ben-Shahar explains it with himself, because he was a world-class squash player.
Yeah.
But he said, but when the season was over, he got fat, and you can see it with football players or with athletes, and that is not a sign of self-discipline. So they weren't actually self-disciplined. They didn't even actually have self-discipline. They just had good habits and routines to follow. Yeah. And so I am also tending now more to this. I think self-discipline is overrated.
Right. Okay.
So you need a little bit of it.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, habits are always difficult. So you need drive to come over this first thing, and so that until it becomes automatic. But it's not as I saw it. So when I am in 2014, I thought like, wow, you can train it and you can become more and more self-disciplined. And maybe you can, but you don't need to if you adapt good habits.
Yes.
Because then it goes automatically. So that's a little bit, and I wrote to Tal Ben-Shahar because it was for me really, I was like, Tal, I mean, I think self-discipline and you say it's habits, and he answered me and said, no, it's, as I wrote in that book, it's like habits. And then I said, okay, well, won't discuss with you, who are one of the greatest in the subject, right? So I just accepted it. So at the end, I think that, and that's important, everybody has to find their own way. So I'm in my books, I'm throwing out things there. I say, look, for me, this works. Now you go, some things will work for you, some things won't, something you will do different like me, and they will work for you.
Yes.
And so everyone choose the habits, choose and try it.
Yes.
And stick with what works.
But
I'm pretty sure gratitude works for everybody. So there I do an exception and say, okay, do that. But all the other things, maybe you're a person to be self-disciplined, or maybe because look, I'm German, and I think I'm the most undisciplined German in the world. But I don't know if there are many more like me. I mean, I take my nap and I work, So, but I have habits. Yes. I have good habits. For me, I have a morning ritual. I try to get everything important done between 6 and 11 a.m. And everything that comes after is bonus time, So, but if I can get everything done, what's important between 6 and 11, then that's it.
The morning is such a great time to do it. That's where your mind is most active. You got the most energy. You're focused. I think the morning is a great time to do that. And again, we talk about habits. I think so. If there's any one thing that people take away from this, the habit of gratitude is a good one to start with.
Absolutely.
Make gratitude a habit.
It will improve everything else.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but it works. It is. You just have to try it.
You talked about some of the scientific benefits of that. I wonder if you could explain a few of those, because I think people will really, but there are some really strong.
I mean, there's this good man, Dr. Emmett, I don't have to, but there's a book, it's called Gratitude Works from Doctor. I don't know if Emmett was his first name or his last name. And he studied it and he did this scientific experience, and it comes out.
Is it Richard?
Robert Emmons. I think Robert Emmons or something.
Yes.
And he, great book. So if you need any more, if you have doubts, get the book, read it. Your doubts will be gone, hopefully. And yeah, he found out really that so people that were writing down 3 things they're grateful for, after 6 weeks they felt better than the things which they sleep better, less prone to depression. So those are all proven facts. And I can tell you it's funny because I taught a semester of happiness at Geneva Business School in Barcelona. So the class was happiness. It was 1 semester, and my students, the only homework they got, they had to write 500 words on what they are taking away from the class.
Okay.
And they had to write down what they are grateful for every day. Three things they're grateful for. And it was homework, so they had to turn it in. And I told them, if you don't want to say it, share it, write beep. But I want you to think about it and to make it to yourself. I don't have to read it, right? And I saw after 6 weeks, I saw exactly those things that Dr. Emmons described. I had one girl, very shy in the class. She was very shy, nearly antisocial, introvert, lots of headaches, many times missing class because, and then I got her homework back, and then she wrote, I'm happy I slept 8 hours the first time, or another night of 8 hours of great sleep. I'm grateful for the 8 hours of sleep. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. Grateful for my mother. And then you could see after 6 weeks, she was a lot more social. She was participating in class. No more headaches. She told me that. She said, I don't have headaches anymore and things like that. And then it makes you just happy, and you say, wow, it really, because I know it works. I believe it works. I've read the books that say it works, but it's always great when I get an email from somebody who said, wow, I tried it and it works. Or I have one woman.
That validation's important.
One woman, even she wrote it, and I think in the Amazon reviews and she wrote me also by email, and she said, with a friend, they opened a WhatsApp group and they made this 3 things they're grateful for, and they had rules, they couldn't make fun of it. They had to take it serious. They really said it changed everything for them within 3 to 6 months. I think they were even out of toxic relationships and things like that. And they said, my whole life changed because of that. And I said, wow, it's fantastic. I know it, but it's great to read it once and over and over and over again, because it's just, so nice.
I love the connection between gratitude and happiness because it's there is a clear connection between the two.
Totally. And there the critics could say, well, it's easy when you are happy to be grateful, but it's the other way around. Grateful people become happier because of all this. Because if you concentrate, focus every day on those things that you can be grateful for.
Yes.
It's logical you become happier and more grateful because there are so many things that we took for granted, even like also with the pandemic. I think many more people now understand how important gratitude is. And it even happened to me, because I try to be very mindful, very grateful for everything. But the day before we went into lockdown in Spain, a Friday, I wanted to go to my favorite beach bar. And I said, I go on Monday. And then on Saturday, national lockdown. I couldn't go to the beach bar for 8 weeks. Wow. And then again, I took it and said, look, I don't take many things for granted.
Yes.
And that is another reason for not doing it.
Yes.
Because there's one thing I took for granted, and now what? So this is my gratitude, and appreciating things and not taking things for granted is so important.
I'm glad that you brought the pandemic up, because I think that during that time, people really start to understand. Again, we talk about the gratitude for that they appreciate. Even for myself, I developed such an appreciation and gratitude for my family, because you're home all the time now, and you're with them all the day. Like, we had regular movie nights on Friday nights, and we just enjoyed each other's and coming out of it, it's like, wow, like I really have taken things for granted.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we're forced to do it.
Yeah.
In this case, we all were forced to do it, but I still think it was something important that we went through.
It was, again, something that happened for a reason. I mean, I concentrate on the good things because also the pandemic divided us more than ever and everything,
Yes.
but that's still, I don't want to focus on it. I focus on it that many people got the chance to pause.
Yeah.
What you said, to stop,
Yeah.
to reflect,
Yeah.
to be with their family. You know, what was before the problem? Many managers didn't see their kids grow up.
Yeah.
Although they were working 60 hours a week for their kids.
That's right.
But they were never at home, but they were, so now they could do that, right? And gratitude, not taking things for granted. So I think the potential was there for many people. And I read a statistic on LinkedIn. I didn't fact check it, but I just read it and I said, in the US, 90% nearly are rethinking where they work and the way they work. 90%.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's always work. I always knew, because it's in the Gallup study, that 80% of the people are not happy at their work.
Right.
But they keep working, like I did for 11 years before I got fired.
Yes.
So it was then when such a crisis comes and when you stop and pause, and I was forced to, because sometimes when you don't take the decision, in my case,
Yes.
the decision gets taken for you. And for me,
Absolutely.
my boss sent me out, and then I had to confront it and to say and live what I preach and what I learned as a coach.
Yes.
That being jobless is also a big chance to rethink, to reframe, to reflect on everything. And I did that. And the pandemic has also given us this opportunity. So it's...
Well, Marc, I'll tell you, one of the reasons that we're talking today, this podcast started during the pandemic.
Look at this, yeah.
If it wasn't the pandemic, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
So I'm happy. I'm glad we're having it.
And I'm very appreciative and grateful for that, because that's showing, again, a gratitude towards our situation.
Absolutely. And you're in Toronto, right?
I am.
And once everything opens again, one of my first trips with my beautiful girlfriend will be to Toronto, and I'll write you a mail.
Absolutely.
And how is this brewery called down there next to the Rogers Center? Steam Whistle.
Yeah, Steam Whistle.
I was there. I was once in Toronto for 4 days. I think I was there every day. That's such a good beer there. Steam Whistle Brewery. Did the tour and everything. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, good.
That's why I will meet you, my friend. That's why I will meet you.
I promise you, we will absolutely do that. So wonderful. But again, we talk about the opportunities that are created, and you know, there's something to go, oh, well, you're just being optimistic. And it's, well, no, you're not being optimistic. You become optimistic because of what happened in the ground.
You have to make the best that you can out of the situation. That's being an optimist.
Yeah.
If the situation is bad and you say, no, it's good, that's delusional optimism. Real optimism is, the situation is what it is. I'll make the best of it. And at the end of the tunnel, there will be light.
Amazing.
And that brings you through a lot better than anything else, you know. And that's your choice. That's a choice. We know it.
Amazing.
Focus again. We can focus on everything bad that happened to us, or how we have become decided, or we can focus on all the opportunities that have come from this. And I, Marc Reklau, prefer to concentrate, to focus on the opportunities, to all the good things. Amazing. I connected with people that I hadn't talked to in 30 years. It's fantastic. Yeah. And you asked, why didn't we talk for the last 30 years?
That's right.
But we connected again, you know, so that's
right. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Oh man, Marc, I've so loved our time together today. This has just been awesome, and I'm glad that I reached out. And again, I think your work is fantastic. How about let our listeners know if they wanted to catch up with you or read more about your works? Where could we send them, Marc?
10th of March 2022, Steam Whistle Brewery. I'll be there. No, okay. So they can find me on Google, Marc Reklau. There's only one Marc Reklau in the world with a C. Marc with a C. The other one has a K.
Okay.
And I'm practically, if you Google me, I'm everywhere. So on Amazon, you put Marc Reklau, all my books show up. My email is marc@marcreklau.com. I pride myself to answer all the mails.
Yes.
Although now I'm more selecting. So now the bad ones, or if they're asking for money, I won't answer, but the rest.
Fair enough.
I will read them all, but I don't not promise to answer every mail, but I will answer most of them.
Amazing.
And then I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Amazing.
And that's it. Yeah. And really, thank you. It was such a pleasure for me also to talk to you.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing, if people walked away with this one thing, it's, make gratitude a daily habit. I think if you start there, that can pave the way for everything else. And I love that you talked earlier. You said, there's other things that you can do. They may or may not work, but you try them anyways, right? Because you don't know, because we're all different. And so what might work for this person is different from that person. But the first one is gratitude be a daily habit.
It's the easiest one and it's the most impactful one. So why not start there? Make it easy.
There we go. Marc, thank you for the time. It's a pleasure. And we will see you March 10th, 2022.
Will still be cold in Canada. Maybe we have to put it to May 10th. May 10th.
Sure, that's okay.
Make it May 10th.
We'll be spring.
And we will be in touch. We'll be in touch. We'll keep. Let's hope that really soon this virus is beaten. I mean, it looks okay here in Europe. Many people vaccinated. Numbers are going up, but nobody is going to the hospital anymore, which is good, So let's see. And then as soon as possible, I'll be on a plane to Toronto, Canada.
We're on our way. Good stuff, Marc. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Back we are here on the podcast, and I wanted to send my thanks and appreciation for Marc for stopping by and joining us here on the Audacious Living podcast for such a good chat. The conversation was absolutely delightful, and I'm certain listeners walked away with a ton of great stuff when we focus on the power of gratitude and all the wonderful things it can do in our lives. What Marc left us, so much to think about, but if there's just one thing that I take from my conversation with him, it would be this. It's super easy to express gratitude during momentous occasions when things are going our way and everything is falling naturally into place. And we absolutely should be practicing gratitude in those moments. But we also can be thankful for the simple things, the little things that we oftentimes and easily forget about and maybe take for granted. Things like our health, our family, friends, our loved ones, or even the bright sunny days that the sun gives us and bestows on us. There are a ton of benefits to practicing gratitude on a daily basis. And doing this, and when we do it, it helps to create positive emotions in our lives and leads to greater happiness. It can improve our overall health and improve as well as our ability to handle adversity, strengthen our relationships, and so much more. To simply put it, if you start practicing gratitude today on a daily basis, I can promise you that you'll be better off in the long run. Hey, listen, if you haven't registered for email notifications of the podcast, please know that you can do so just by heading over to bestaudaciouslife.com. All you've got to do is enter in your email address and you'll immediately be connected. And every time we got new content that comes out, you'll get a notification in your inbox. It's just that easy. Now, we've reached the end of another edition of the Audacious Living podcast. And as always, I got to send out a big shout out and thanks to all those lovers of audaciousness. Thank you so much for your tremendous ongoing support. It's so much appreciated. And we keep doing what we're doing because of the feedback that we're getting from you. So thank you. Can't say it enough. I really, really, really do appreciate your support. The other thing that you can do, if you are enjoying the Audacious Living podcast, you can head over to your favorite podcast listening platform and give us a rating, whether it be on Spotify or on Apple iTunes. Let us know and leave a comment. Let us know how you're thinking about the podcast. If there's more that you want to hear, by all means, send along that feedback and we'll do our part. So, and that's just a one easy, simple way that we can help the Audacious Living podcast grow. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.